Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and much appreciated you guys making some time out of your schedule and out of your day to spend some time with me on the video. Really appreciate that. And guys, like the title said today, I want to talk about the kids, the bass fishing kids that just don't stand a chance in today's world of budding tournament, competition, high school, college anglers, even when they start to get in the some of the pro ranks. We've talked about this a little bit before in the past, but one of the reasons I wanted to do this video was a comment I got. Well, actually, it was a comment. It was a private message I got last week from a dad of one of the high school anglers that was really, voicing his concern over this and his frustration about it. So we're going to get into this inequality that exists and the financial elitism that is taking over tournament angling, especially at a young age, in today's video. Also, guys, quick reminder that Solar Bat has a sale going on until the end of October on my Solar Bat series. These are the RB2s here, RB2 and RB3 series, my signature series glasses. If you order a pair between now and the end of October, you can get them at 20% off, along with a lot of other stuff on the Solar Bat website. So I'll put the link in the description of this video if you guys are interested in picking up a pair of them. And I'd suggest getting the high contrast yellow lens. That's my favorite lens for so many different conditions out there. Really appreciate that. Okay, guys, I have gotten a lot of letters and messages and comments from parents of high school and college anglers, basically just fed up and frustrated with the way that the equipment and the technological explosion in equipment has affected their kids' ability to compete on the high school and college level. The angler, or the father that sent me this message, he made the comment that it was like, he goes, we're behind the 8 ball, or my son's behind the 8 ball even before the tournament starts, because he said, we can't afford that. He goes, we can't afford live scope. We can't afford to have, an $80,000 bass boat. He had like a little 16-foot, aluminum with like a 75 horse on it with just like a couple little 5 or 7 inch, 2D sonar units on it. And his comment was that obviously all the tournaments on the high school and college level are getting won by spotlighting, because unfortunately we're creating a generation of bass anglers that are connected with an umbilical cord to live scope. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. They're not brought up learning bass movement, bass behavior, understanding seasonal movements, and developing versatility as an angler. It's all about the tech. And this speaks to the bigger picture, is what I want to talk here about these kids that are behind an 8 ball even before they started, and how tournament fishing, and it's totally because of it's the fault of the tournament organizations. It's the fault of Bassmaster. It's the fault of MLF for enabling this to where you have got a level, not just a level, but a high level of financial elitism and discrimination against the poor people that want to bass fish, the kids that do not come from money, the kids that have families that are struggling to make ends meet and doing everything they can to pay their bills. And this has gone on forever, but in the past it wasn't that big of an issue, because you did not have this financial disparity that exists. Because I've talked about this before, when I started out in 1985 or 86, I didn't have any money, but I was able to do it simply because the tournament entry fees were only $600 a piece. Everybody had the same electronics. Everybody had a flasher on their boat. So everybody had, $300 worth of electronics on their boats at the most. So you didn't have this deal where people now have $50,000, $60,000 worth of electronics on their boat. They've got $120,000 bass boats. They got $100,000 trucks. So here is what is messed up about this, that I don't quite understand. I guess that there's just a ton, there must be a ton of wealthy people involved in fishing now, because it wasn't always like that. I follow these high school and college tournaments. I go to some of the tournaments, and I see these 18 and 19-year-old kids rolling up in, trucks nicer than what I drive. Brand new Ford F-250 diesels with $110,000 bass boat. They got 3 stack units up front. They got 3 stack units on the console. And I'm just shaking my head. It's like, where does this money come from? Because here's the thing about it. If you're an average 18-year-old kid, if you were like me, you worked a part-time job at a restaurant making a minimum wage, So there's no way. I'd have to work 50 years to be able to afford what I'm seeing some of these kids in high school and college have right now. And then you have other anglers out there, and these are the ones I'm already talking about in this video, that they're not privileged financially. Their parents simply do not have the money. Nevertheless, they have the passion to get into the sport and want to bass fish. There is a lot of kids out there, guys, right now, like I was, that are reading fishing magazines, they're watching YouTube videos on fishing, and they go out and practice in their backyard, they fish farm ponds, they wade creeks like I did, and they are ate up with bass fishing and would love to have a dream of being a pro fisherman, but they can't do it because the tournament organizations have, whether it be consciously or intentionally or whatever, they've created this financial elitism that we've fallen into, and they simply can't do it. You cannot be a lower income American. You can't do it and expect to be a professional angler in this sport. Your road to success is going to take 10 times longer than anybody else. I see a lot of these kids out there, and we've seen this now, that you've got these kids in the Elite Series. They're the top 10 angler of the year. They're in their early 20s. Most people, guys, you go to high school, and then you get out of high school and you either go to work or you go to college, and by the time you're in your early 20s, you're scraping to make ends meet. You still haven't established a career. You don't have this big income earning potential. So how in the world are so many people out there in their late teens and early 20s be able to afford $100,000 worth of entry fees and expenses, $100,000 boat, $100,000 truck, insurance, tackle? Where does it come from? It's like, I guess the freaking economy is just freaking booming off the map right now because there's a lot of people that can afford it, obviously. But the thing that I am disgusted by is how the tournament organizations have allowed us to get to this point. Now, here's what they need to do. Here's how you could fix all of this. If the tournament organizations would do the right thing, which they very rarely do, they would sit down and say, okay, we've got a problem, guys. We are creating a financial disparity within the sport amongst the young anglers in high school and college that is not fair. It's not fair to some kid that comes from a lower class family that he simply can't live his dream out because his parents can't afford it, while you got another kid out there the same age that comes from an affluent family that can afford to do that. That's not the way it is. That'd be like saying some kid that was like from the inner city that was super talented in basketball or baseball or football, and say, well, you can't compete, man, because it's going to cost you $100,000 a year to compete on this high school team. I don't care how good you are, you can't afford to do it. Bass fishing is the only sport out there that financially discriminates against the younger anglers and the older anglers too, and we got to put a stop to it. And here's how you can put a stop to it. You have got to institute equipment limitations for these younger anglers in the high school and college teams. Every angler out there that competes on the high school or college angler on the high school or college level should have the same type of equipment. It's not fair for one kid to have $60,000 worth of electronics on their boat, and then some other kid has a 5-inch 2D sonar unit and a 70-horse motor on there. That is not right. And if you would have Bassmaster and MLF start to put strict equipment limitations and only allow one 2D sonar unit on the console, one 2D sonar unit up front, that would go a big way in leveling that playing field and getting past the frustrations that dad that sent me that message about being behind the 8-ball before they started. Same with rod and reels. Limit the high school and college anglers to 4 rod and reels. It's not right for one kid to be able to have 30 rod and reels, Daiwas in the boat, and, $50,000 worth of tackle. Limit it to like 1 tackle box, 4 rod and reels, and some type of an equipment limitation on the boat, or at least figure out some way to have every kid in the same type of a boat. Not, whatever that looks like. It's not rocket science to figure that out. But right now, it's not like on the way, it's here. We have Bassmaster and MLF have turned high school and college fishing to a large degree into an elitist activity for the kids out there, simply because of this equipment. Guys, I get comments all the time about this. I have had hundreds of parents over the last 3 years you know, send me private message or comment on my YouTube videos or on my social media about their venting their frustration about this. So what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to allow money to influence the sport on even the high school and college level? Are we going to continue accelerating this sport into an elitist activity where only the wealthy can participate, or where only the wealthy have the advantage that gives them that advantage to compete on a high level? And until we neutralize that and level the playing field completely, it's just freaking messed up. And I feel so sorry for those kids out there that are passionate about it and want to do it, but they can't afford it, because I was one of those kids, and I just happened to get started early in the sport where you didn't have this financial elitism. My first year on the circuit, guys, I had a 4-cylinder truck. I pulled my boat all over the country in a beat up 4-cylinder truck. I stayed in rat infested motels that cost $19 a night. You know, you don't see that anymore. I see these 18-year-old kids staying at Holiday Inn Expresses or Hampton Inns out there with their $220,000 rig sitting out parked out front. You know, it's messed up, man. It's not right. And we're not headed down the right road with this. It can be stopped. It's just another one of those things where, you know, money rules. We've talked about this a lot on the channel. And until we get people in positions of power within the management of MLF and Bassmaster that recognizes the reality of this situation, it's never going to get any better. So anyway, guys, let me know what y'all think about it. Be curious to hear, and talk later.